was preparing to come here. And my phone rings, and I see Belgium. It's a call from Belgium. In Belgium, it's not so early now. It's pretty late in Belgium. Who's calling me from Belgium in the middle of the night? So I picked up the phone. The Yid introduces himself. His name is Reb Feivel Shapiro. Feivel Shapiro is a Yid from Antwerp, from Antwerpen, from Belgium. He lives in Belgium. And he told me that he wants to share with me a story. And this is not a story of Klei Chamishi, Klei Revi, Klei Shlishi, Klei Sheni. This is a story of Klei Rishon. It's a story that happened with him himself, and he told it to me tonight, Motzaei Shabbos Selichos, a few minutes before I came here. And I want to share this story with you. It's a very, very powerful, very moving story. His mother, Rachel, came from a Satmar family. Satmar Chassidim, already back in Europe before the war. His father, Reb Naftali Herz, Zechrona Levracha, was a Talmud Muvik of the Damasek Eliezer from Vishnitz. His mother was from Satmar. His father was from Vishnitz. He, all his life, davens in bells. So we have bells, Vishnitz, Satmar, Kolonik Yachad. And I'm telling the story.
I'm recording
it. So the Feivel tells me tonight. It was 1 year Purim. And he came to America. He's a businessman, a well-known, affluent businessman, a well-connected person in Belgium. He's an askin, he's an activist, he's a businessman, he's a successful person. He came here once to America, he was here Purim. This was in the 1970s, early 70s. And he decided to go see what's happening. He wanted to check out the Lebowitz Rebbe. So he went to Brooklyn, to the Kronite section of Brooklyn. Lebowitz Rebbe would hold a Purim Fabrengen, a Purim gathering for many hours every Purim night, Motzaei Purim. He told me I was there. It was very, very long. He said the Rebbe geret and verbracht, and it went on until late, the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, or 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. It was very late. So the Rebbe finished, and he walked out from the big shul to go upstairs to his room, private office, and then probably go home. He says, by us the minig is, me get shulam tzadeben. You go and you give a shulam aleichem to the Lebowitz Rebbe, to a Rebbe. So that's what I decided I want to do. I just want to go greet him, give him my hand. So as he was walking back to his room, I stood there on the path, 2 or 3 in the morning. He says, didn't remember the hour, but it was very late. And I stretched out my hand to give him shalom aleichem. He said there were 2 gaboyim around. Didn't know their names, but 2 gaboyim there. They looked at me. They said, come on, nicht jetzt ist die Zeit. Nicht jetzt ist die Zeit zu geben shalom zum Rebbe. Now is not the time to give your hand and start greeting the Rebbe. Sitting a whole night. So I was new. He says, ich bin gewinn schockiert. I was taken aback, I was shocked. And I pulled back my hands. So he says, but the Rebbe noticed when I stretched out my hand, he noticed what happened. So the Rebbe stretched out his hand. And he took my hand. So I thought he'll give me shalom. And he wouldn't leave go. And he started to walk with me, holding my hand. He comes to his room. And he takes me into his room. He says, this was surprising. I didn't ask him anything. I didn't tell him anything. I just wanted to say shalom aleichem, aleichem shalom, 5 seconds. But it was near his room, so he was taking with my hand. He took me into the room. He closed the door. He said he himself took a seat, took another chair, put it by his desk, and he said, Setz dich weg. Sit down. So I sat down. I didn't know what he wants. But I sat down. The Gaboyim at this point, there was nothing they could do. He went in, he closed the door. So the Rebbe opened the drawer, took out a key. And he went to one of his cabinets, a filing cabinet. And he opened up a drawer that was locked. He took out a piece of paper. He gives me the piece of paper and he says, Nadir Lane, here is the piece of paper, read. So Reb Feivel tells me, he says, I start reading a letter that a lady wrote to the Lebowitz Rebbe in the early 1960s. She writes to him. She comes from a family of Satmar Chassidim. Her husband was a Vishnitz. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's 36 years old. She has 12 children. The oldest one is 14. The youngest one is 1 year old. 12 children, 14 to 1. And the doctors are not optimistic about her chances to live. The cancer has spread. They say she doesn't have much time. She herself is ready to give up. She lived her life. She's ready to say goodbye. She's ready to face her Maker in heaven. And she has no complaints. But she has 12 children. And that kills her. It breaks her heart. A 1-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy. Who will raise them? Who will take care of them? She says, I don't know you and you don't know me. Aber ich betach. I'm asking you, I'm asking the Lebowitz Rebbe, please look out and daven for my 12 children. Think about them, pray for them. They should grow up to be able to be happy people, wholesome people, healthy people. They should be inspired to have Yirah Shamayim and Avos HaTorah and Avos Hashem and Avos Yisrael. Fear of heaven, love of God, love of Torah, love of the Jewish people, and they should follow the derech HaTorah v'HaMitzvah. My 12 children should follow the path of Torah and mitzvahs. She signs her name. Feivel tells me she's reading the letter. He's reading the letter. She signs her name, Rachel. Reish Aleph Ches Yud Lamed Shapiro. Says, this is my mother. His mother died when he was 12. He was from the oldest in the family. His oldest brother was 14, he was 12. She left 7 boys and 5 girls. Pitzlach Kinder, Mamish Pitzlach, little ones. And now he's reading a letter in the handwriting of his mother that she wrote shortly before she passed away in the 60s. Tells me, so I'm sitting in the chair and I start crying. I start trembling. I didn't know of such a letter. I was overwhelmed from emotion. I was just weeping. I finished reading. I look at the Lebowitz Rebbe and I say, Ich will beten ein bakosha. I have one thing to ask you. Mom is gestorben so young. My mother died so young. I don't have much of her. Ich will nehmen den Brief mit mir. I want to take this letter with me. I want to have it. The letter that my mother wrote to you about her family, her children, her concerns. I want to have this letter. So Lebowitz Rebbe said, "Nay, no, I can't give you the letter." And I was startled. I knew that he's a Jew who receives tens of thousands of letters. Did he really need to hold on to this letter of another tragedy? Like, here's an orphan. I didn't have a mother so many years. I'm just asking for her letter. Like, I couldn't understand why he would care to part from this letter and just give it to his son when he showed me the letter. And he looked at me and he said, Yede Yar gehe ich nicht darauf in Schul für Kol Nidrei. Eider ich lein der Mamas Brief. He said his language in Yiddish was ich kann nicht darauf gehen zu Kol Nidrei. Für dem was ich lein der Mamas Brief. Every year Yom Kippur. I can't go down to Shul to daven Kol Nidrei Yom Kippur at night before I don't read your mother's letter. This letter has to stay here. Reb Feivel tells me the night after Purim, I stood up, trembling, I walked out of the room. Then he tells me, ich kann sich nicht meuchel sein. He says, Rabbi, why? Ich kann sich nicht meuchel sein ad hayoim. I can't forgive myself till today. Why I didn't say Lebowitz Rebbe? How in the world did you know who I am and that this was my mother? I came over to you after Purim. I gave you a hand. So I can't forgive myself. Why didn't I ask him? How do you know it's me? Why did you take me into a room? How do you know to put the two together? I didn't even say my name. How did you know this? So I say, why didn't you ask him?